been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony back with another episode of the One Hell of Life Outdoor Podcast. What's up there, Father?
Well, only 4 times in my life. And let's see, how many years I've been bow hunting? Since I was 11. So what is that, 41 years?
Yeah.
There's only been 4 times, I think, that I did not harvest a deer.
Oh, man.
And this year, you know, I took it in the rear. And what I did, I don't know, what a lot of people would say is like
deprecating behavior,
self-crushing, self mental attitude destruction, humbleness, all those things, you know, going back to shooting the primitive equipment. And, you know, for every set this year, when I had deer on me, I was extremely patient and I said, I'm not shooting over 20 yards. I passed up shots at 21 yards, you know, and just wasn't going to do it. And, you know, in all truthfulness, you know, I took a shot at one the other night, and it jumped my string, and it was a wounded thing, and did everything I did to find it. So kind of like deer just kind of kicked me in the rear right out the season. So,
jeez, yeah, no, that's tough to sit with till next September.
But don't tell me I can't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now I feel like it was just meant to be, because I'm already looking towards next season and the off season. So
yep. Well, right on. Well, hey, tonight we have Chris Midgette on the podcast, AKA the Hunting Traveler. And Chris, from what I've gathered, he does. He's a writer. He takes his Boykin Spaniel all over the United States hunting.
He travels.
Yeah. But Chris, man, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast tonight. We're excited to share some time with you, and of course, we're gonna hit on our new segment we started last week, listener questions of the week, and Chris will get to participate in that too. So.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate y'all having me on, and luckily I don't travel as much as I used to. God, that was rough, but now we just travel for fun instead of work and fun, so it's a little bit better.
The hunting traveler that has fun.
So
it used to be pretty rough.
Well, that's a good point to start, man. You know what? I guess kind of just background on you. You know what kind of got you into hunting, and you know if you you mentioned you traveled a lot for work, I guess too. You know what do you do outside of hunting? That's what you do. There's some people that do it full time, so I always got to ask. But you know, like us, it's kind of like a weekend warrior thing a lot of times.
Yeah, I guess my start in hunting came, I think I started when I was maybe 7 or 8, probably, with my dad. My dad is pretty hardcore duck hunter, and I had some interesting experiences because, you know, growing up, it wasn't like I had the wonderful waders. I think my first pair of waders was some fly fishing waders that had, you know, I think I had some cheap neoprene fly fishing waders with some neoprene boots that went on. Like, I didn't have the neoprene like boots that the boots that connected to the waders. I had separate, you know, boots, and so water would get my boots, and just, you know, I used to freeze growing up. And I think my first pair of insulated, I didn't have long johns. I had his uncle's insulated undergarments from probably the 60s or 70s. So I don't know how I continued duck hunting, because I remember just freezing. The only way I could stay warm was to take a nap and fall asleep in the boat. My dad is a very old school hunter. He uses, and I wrote an article on him, he shoots a old Spanish 10 gauge double barrel. He uses the same hunting jacket that he bought in 1977. He uses LL Bean cork decoys that he bought back in the 70s. I mean, he's very old school. Yeah. He's definitely
what a boss,
old school
man.
hunter. Yeah, I don't know how he shoots that thing. It's like a howitzer, man. It's like a cannon going off. I don't even know how he gets it up to his shoulders. I mean, he's in his he's gonna kill me. I think he's in early 70s now. So but he still gets out there every now and then.
Well, good
he gave me the addiction. So I grew up a duck hunter, and then I ventured a little more into upland last couple of years, I guess. Then the Hunting Traveler got started just because up until 2 years ago, I used to travel every week for work. I'd leave my house on a Sunday afternoon, fly out. I was a consultant for car dealerships mostly, and then a few other businesses. We did some consulting with like Bass Pro Shops and some other boat companies. But yeah, I leave my house Sunday, fly somewhere, work Monday, Tuesday, fly somewhere else, work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then fly home. So there was a lot of times back in my mid to early 20s or mid to late 20s rather, where I'd fly home, get home at, land at 1 a.m., drive home, grab the dog, my gun, my waders, drive my buddy's house, sleep in his driveway. He'd knock on the window and be like, hey, let's roll. And we'd go duck hunting. So, yeah, so I traveled a lot. I went to every state except for I think 5 or 6. But back then when I was, single and stuff, instead of flying home, I would actually stay. Like if I was in Mississippi, I might stay for the weekend and hunt in Mississippi, find some good people to go hunt with and stuff. So I got to hunt in a lot of different areas of the U.S. Once I got smart. Yeah, I mean, eventually I smartened up. I was like, well, instead of flying home, shoot, I'll just stay here and hunt. And so that's kind of what I started doing. So yeah, that's kind of where the hunting traveler idea came from. I try to entertain a lot of people because, yeah, I used to get stuck in airports quite often. I have like the worst luck. Man, I've slept in so many damn airports. It's kind of sad. So I gave that up 2.5 years ago and then moved up to Michigan. So that's kind of where it all started, though.
Oh, I gotcha. And what do you do now? So
I actually work for one of my clients. There's
cool.
a smaller size dealer group up in Michigan that are, just good people. I know that's hard to believe, good people in the car industry, but there's a few out there. And they gave me a decent offer and wanted something different. Grew up in Virginia, went to college down in South Carolina. So I said, screw it, we'll sell the house and let's go up to Michigan. Let's try it out. And we're about 2.5 hours north of Detroit. So I remember when I'd been here a couple of weeks, and Tony, I know you're familiar with Norfolk, Virginia, and the guys up here were like, hey man, at 5 o'clock, the traffic gets pretty bad. And I'm like, there's 6 cars at the stoplight. I can drive 30 miles and get there in 20 minutes. And they're like, yeah, man, that's pretty bad. And I was like, guys, y'all don't know traffic. Like it's so bad. And like, Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, Virginia. But the hunting up here, I'm not going to put it too much out there, but yeah, Michigan's got some really good hunting up here, whether it's waterfowl, upland. Obviously the deer up here, just as far as body mass, not that I'm a huge deer hunter, but the deer are just so much bigger than down south, especially in Virginia. So yeah, we've definitely enjoyed it. It's been I've had to learn a lot of new terminology, and they call them partridge up here. It's not grouse. It's partridge or pats is what they call them up here. So but yeah, it's been a cool experience, man. And that's I still get to hunt and travel. They're pretty flexible as far as my hunting schedule. So I still make it out west to North Dakota. Let's see, I've done Wyoming, Iowa, Wisconsin. So a couple other hunts that are, I don't have to travel as much because the hunting is actually pretty decent here. So
yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier.
What part of the state are you in? I mean, Michigan's, it's like when we used to live in Florida, people are like, dude, I'm coming to Florida on vacation. You gotta come see me. And I'll be like, where you going? West Palm? And I'll be like, dude, I'm in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's like,
Ain't no way.
No way, man. I mean, but we're at about.
So I've learned now that I live in Michigan, you do this little thing with your hand and you make the mitten. So if you're looking at your right hand and you got palm up and you got the thumb on your right, we're basically right in the pocket. So the Saginaw area, it's about maybe 40 minutes to an hour north of Flint. So we don't have that whole water issue. Right next to Lake Huron or the Saginaw Bay. So yeah, we're I think I'm 2.5 hours basically on the dot from the Mackinac Bridge to get over into the UP.
Nice. I mean, what a diverse habitat of wildlife to live around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys get just about everything up there. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon if somebody's like, dude, I saw an elk. I mean, versus say being in Illinois, you know what I mean, or whatever. But that's got to be just an incredible place to live. And how many years have you been there now?
Just over 2 years.
Just over 2 years. Because we've got a few friends that live up that way, and everybody I know from Michigan is a honker smasher. It seems. Oh, yeah. It seems so.
A lot of geese up here, and just the. Again, I don't want a hot spot or anything like that, but there is a lot of public land opportunities up here, compared to what I was used to back home, where I've talked about it to other people and on other podcasts. My area of Virginia that I moved from, basically I-95 breaks up the state in Virginia. And so east of 95, but not counting the eastern shore of Virginia, but the eastern half of the state essentially has these crazy blind laws. So if you put a blind on basically any river or a bay and you tag it, no one can hunt within 500 yards of that blind for the rest of the season.
What?
So yeah, it's crazy. So basically on every major river, you're going to have a blind damn near 500 yards, and you can find little hot spots here and there to kind of get in there. But it's tough to kill a duck in Virginia because of that. You got to have a boat. And don't get me wrong, there's some public areas that you can go to, but not compared to what we got up here.
Sure.
And so, honestly, that's how I got into more upland, because I got my spaniels. And so the last maybe, 5 or 7 years of me living in Virginia, to go kill puddle ducks, like a lot of puddle ducks, and have some success, we had to go west. So we started, going out in North Dakota and all that stuff. And so most of our duck hunting in Virginia became, divers and sea ducks, and then, again, I got a 45-pound spaniel. I'm not going to throw him out on the day to, go get a old squaw.
Right.
So I got more into upland because I'm like, well, hell, I got this dog. I need to use him for something. So that's kind of what led me into upland. I think my passion, I don't know. If I want convenience, I can go shoot some grouse because I just got to put some boots on and grab my gun and the dog. But I still love watching, some mallards cup up and come the decoys and stuff. So that's, I think, still my true passion.
One of the things that I think is cool about your page, Chris, is like, not like knocking, because I'm not. I guess what I'm trying to say is like my page is like a lot of sparsely like photography or whatever, and mostly just like me grip and grin type pictures, which there's a lot of people that do that kind of thing. I have nothing against it because I would be a hypocrite if I did say that. But what I think is cool about your page is what I'm getting at is it's so focused around your dog or dogs. I just think that's kind of neat, that you just put such an emphasis on your relationship with the Boykins, and that's kind of like, honestly, until I looked up on your page before I had you on the podcast, I'm like, I don't even know what this dude looks like because I just see his dogs all the time.
That's on purpose, man. No one wants to see my ugly mug on there. But it's, yeah. You're 100% right. I think there's, I don't know. It is a cliche, I think, where some people are like, I love carrying the camera rather than a gun. Mm-hmm. But I'm almost to that point. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love shooting ducks and I love shooting pheasants and grouse and stuff like that. But, man, I just love watching the dogs. I've been lucky enough to be invited on a lot of really cool hunts. And one of my first questions is, can I bring the dog? And a lot of times I'm like, no. I'm like, I'd rather hunt my dog, man. Even if I don't get to pull the trigger, I want to kill my dog.
Right.
And it just kind of happened organically, where, and I'll say this because I think it's a great idea. If you want to get invited back on a hunt, take some really good pictures of someone else's dog, and they will invite you back in a heartbeat. There's been plenty of times where I go hunt and I got a cool picture of someone's dog and like, hey, dude, next time we go, I'm calling you. Get some more pictures of my dog, because everyone loves pictures of their own dog. But And that's what I love is, don't get me wrong, I love hunting with my dogs, but I like hunting with other dogs too, just to see how they act. Last couple of weeks I've hunted with a small Munstie. I've never hunted with a Munster Lander before. I've hunted with a bunch of poodle pointers. I've hunted with just all types of different breeds that are unique and have their own style. And obviously every dog has their own peculiarities as far as what they do and how they do it. And I talked about this on another podcast too, and I'm going to bring it up again. But one of the coolest pictures that I love was my friend out in North Dakota. His name's Patrick. We call him Camp Mom because he normally keeps us in line. But he had just gotten a new
Camp Mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he takes care of us. He tells us when to stop drinking because we got to go shoot birds tomorrow and stuff like that.
Bro, that is the great. I gotta hold on to that. I can't believe all the years of camp.
I'm Camp Mom for my dad.
Oh, he is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's Camp Life.
Every camp's gotta have one, man. And he makes breakfast for us in the morning and wakes
Now
us up normally.
that's where Tristan steps out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Pat is on top of it. And he hunted dogless up until like 2 years ago. And he'd hunting pheasants probably damn near, I think, his whole life. And he got a poodle pointer, and we were out in North Dakota, and I forgot how old Greta was, but maybe under a year, or right around a year. But pointed a bird. Pat walked up, flushed it. It was a Sharpie. He shot it. She went and retrieved it. And I didn't carry my gun that day. I just carried the camera. And I got a picture of him pumping his fist up in the air. And it was just super cool because that was just his raw emotion in the moment. And so I got to take that picture, and I sent it to him and his wife and stuff like that. And, so it's really cool to be able to capture those moments. Again, like, I love shooting birds, but if I can do that for somebody else, whether it's their dog or I got one of my favorite pictures of this traveler looking out. We were hunting in this little slough, and we had ducks just piling in this slough. We were just raining ducks, and I'd send Traveler out. He'd come back, and he's, again, a 45-pound brown dog, and I think ducks a lot of times see the motion in the water and think that it's a duck. Like, whether it's a lab, all they see is the head. And so ducks were like trying to land on him. So as soon as he got back, we shoot more. Well, anyways, long story short, we shot a band. So I put the band in front of him. He was hiding on this little muskrat hut. And so that's a memory I'm never going to forget, because I got a cool picture of him watching ducks land as he's kind of standing above a abandoned mallard.
Wow.
That is cool.
So it's just kind of cool. Like, the whole dog thing just kind of, and don't get me wrong, like, my wife, she gives me hell because we'll be walking somewhere and I see a dog across the street, and I'm like, hey, we got to cross the street. I got to go pet this dog. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I got to go pet this. I don't care what it is. I'm going to go talk to it. So that's, it just kind of happened organically. And then I guess it did happen a little bit with the writing. As I got more serious into writing, I found out that you can have a pretty good article or story, but if you don't have pictures, they might not take it. But if you have a mediocre story, but you have pictures, they're more likely to take it. So I realized, oh, hell, I need to try to figure out this whole photography thing. And I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just kind of go out there and take pictures and hope for the best.
Same.
But yeah, so that's what led me to start taking more pictures and just trying to figure this out.
Talk a little bit more about the writing stuff, man, because that's interesting. So obviously, I mean, that's a passion of yours, and kind of to walk us through that journey and kind of what all you've done with that.
It's absolutely been a learning curve for me. I kind of stumbled into it, and I've always been a big reader. My mom's a school teacher. My dad's a big reader, himself. And growing up, my dad had Nash Buckingham books, Gene Hill. I don't remember who wrote this one book, but one of his. So my dad's had Boykins before they were officially a Boykin Spaniel, before they made the society and all that stuff. But one of his best dogs was named Molly, and he named her after a book called Misty Mornings or something like that. But anyways, long story short, I've read hunting books my whole life, and always appreciated their ability to evoke emotion, or if I'm, especially in the off season, duck season's closed up here and has been for since end of December. And so
duck hunters, y'all need to check out Williamson Outfitters down on the Florida Panhandle this season. They offer some of the best coastal duck hunting and inshore fishing east of the Mississippi, targeting species like redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, and canvasbacks, just to name a few. From the cast and blast packages for those who love to fish and hunt, to adrenaline-pumping layout boat hunts that get you up close and personal, Williamson Outfitters has it all. And when the day's done, unwind in comfort at one of the 2 amazing lodges designed to make you feel right at home after a successful day out on the water. Mention the One Hell of a Life podcast when booking and get 10% off your booking. Spots are filling up fast, so call or text Captain Chris today at 850-251-8650 or visit www.floridaducks.com.
So my ability, or their ability, to read a story and put me back in the duck blind in the off season to get me through this whole, duck depression. Mm-hmm. I've always appreciated that. So, back when I flew a lot, or, traveled a lot, luckily I earned enough status because I flew so much so often that eventually I would get free upgrades. And so with free upgrades came free bourbon, and I'm kind of a bourbon guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I maybe had a couple bourbons on a flight and wrote a story about, a terrible duck hunt where the motor didn't work getting back. And I think I was in middle school, and my dad was like, you pulled bow, I'll push the stern. I said, okay, whatever. And I'm pulling and pulling, and we're going through pluff mud, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I look back, and my dad is hung up on the back of the stern, half his body, and he's sleeping. He's just taking a nap back there. And I've been like sweating my ass off trying to get this damn boat. And so I get pissed off at him, yell at him. So he yells at me and starts pushing. Well, he pushed me too far off we were hunting this little tributary off a river, and he pushed me too far off the bank. So I had to hang on to the front of the boat and kick my feet. So because I couldn't reach the ground anymore. And then I think at some point my dad had told my mom, we'd be back at 10 a.m. and we didn't get back to the boat ramp until probably 12:30 or 1. So, of course he gets yelled at. So I put all this into a story as I was drinking, and I submitted it to the Boykin Spaniels Society, and they take magazine or take articles. And so right about that same time, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Hunting Dog Confidential. They're kind of a branch off of Project Upland.
No.
So they have some, and they just came back out with their, I think, podcast. But the Hunting Dog Confidential was pretty cool because it delved into the history of the hunting breeds and, okay, where did the Labrador come from? Where did the setter come from? And like the history and how it molded into like the actual history of the world.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so,
that would be cool.
Oh, it's pretty interesting. Like, okay, how did setters come by? Okay, how did we get pointers? How did we get this spaniel? How did we get that spaniel? It's really cool because they talk about the history of, okay, well, this happened because of World War II and these dogs went here and all this stuff. And so I just happened to be, I'm always on social media and talking to people. And I talked to the editor of Hunting Dog Confidential. And I said, hey, y'all haven't mentioned Boykins at all. Like you talked about Cocker Spaniels and all that stuff, but you haven't talked about Boykins, which is one of the very few American breeds. Like they are bred and they started in America. And she said, well, write an article. And I said, I'm not a writer. I can't write an article. Well, then she saw that my drunken, terrible duck hunt story had gotten published. She said, well, you can write. So I wrote an article, sent it to her. And this was my learning curve, or part of my learning curve. She sent it back to me, I think, 4 or 5 times with different edits. And then she sent me the contract, and I looked at it and I said, I got to pay you guys to get this published. And she was like, no, you dummy, we're going to pay you. And I was like, I'm getting paid for this. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Wow.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a lot of money, but I was like, I just had no idea. And so that kind of gave me the confidence to kind of go and try more stories. And so a lot of my writing, I'm not the type, they call them hook and bullet stories. I'm not the type that writes, top 10 shotguns of the year or top 10 late season decoy spreads. I mean, they have a place, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why we write those and stuff like that. But I like to write things that will maybe semi-educate or also just entertain. Like, again, my terrible duck hunts, or I got a new one coming out that's, basically from Traveler's perspective of, how bad of a shot I am and how much bullshit he has to put up with because I can't hit, broadside of a barn. And it's from his perspective. So just, different things like that. So yeah, it's been a lot. It's a lot harder than I think what a lot of people think. I thought you write an article, you send it to an editor, maybe they make some edits and it gets published. But it's literally, you come up with the idea, you write an article, then you make your edits, and then a lot of times what you started with, it gets morphed into something completely different. Then you have to submit it to publications. Then that, in some publications, I mean, for instance, Shooting Sportsman, I think their editor told me they get like a couple thousand submissions a month.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, just to get them to even respond and say, hey, Chris, we like your article, but no thanks. That in and of itself is a good thing that you even got a response. They're just so inundated with articles. So that I had to learn that. And then once you get a response like, hey, we like this, then they make their edits. And then if it's a magazine, a website, they can put it pretty soon, obviously. But a magazine like Upland Almanac published one of mine a couple months ago, but they had that article for at least a year because they're working so far in advance. So yeah, it's I enjoy it, but it was a very quick learning curve for me, if that makes sense.
Well, just hearing you talk about it, like the kind of parallels I can draw to like what. So basically, I do all of the editing and stuff for our YouTube and podcast, and the thing I love about it is really just more and more of just telling a story of a duck hunt, and this recently, we've talked about it a lot recently, but this whole theme of this year was like this one hell of a duck season thing, and tried to just tell a story with every video. Sometimes it's harder or easier than others, but not so much just show up and you shoot, and that was cool. But where I'm getting with all that is it's you kind of hearing you talk about like publishers and then they like make edits and things like that. I guess you kind of have to check your ego at the door, and not saying you have an ego, but I'm just saying for me, like, it's when you create something that you put so much time into, and like, you're like, man, that's badass. And then you like hear somebody, whether it's a YouTube comment or whatever it might be, that, we didn't like this about it or whatever.
Right.
It can be kind of like, man, well, shit, I just put all that time into that, and then now they're going to change it. So, and it sounds like what you were saying is like sometimes you can put a bunch of time into something and have it like the way you want it, and they can go in and like mark it up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not a, I don't know how to phrase this other than I'm not a super smart man. I sound like Forrest Gump,
yeah. But I know what love
a lot
is.
of times, yeah, right. Typically my process is a lot of times I'll, especially, whether it's talking to you guys or if I'm on a duck hunt and something happens, I write it down on my phone, typically on my notes app, and I have a whole list of just story ideas. And then to get my, quote unquote creative juices going, I normally have a couple of drinks, and that frees my mind to get some stories out there, and I put a story out, and then I edit it, and then I send it in. So when the editor sends me back stuff, I'm like I got one coming out pretty soon with Wing and Clay, which is it's published in Michigan, but he made a few edits, and I'm like, dude, you know better than I do. You're the editor. I'm good with that. But I will say, to your point, there's times when I've published something like there's a lot of writing awards or contests that you can apply for with some certain writing organizations. And so my ego did get checked. I had an article that I thought was pretty good. It was published in a magazine, and I submitted it to an award, and I didn't win anything. It's okay. And they said, hey, if you want the judges' feedback, let us know. And so I said, sure, give me the feedback. And man, I almost went into some depression, man. They were like, this was wrong. We didn't like how this was. The story wasn't intact, and this. And I'm like, golly. I was like, man. I was like, man. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm done writing. She's like, stop it, knock it off. And I was like, man, they crushed me. So to your point, I had to put my ego aside and go, okay, well, that's positive feedback. And luckily, I do have a good. The writing industry, I think, for people that are, like-minded folks, whether it's, hunting and fishing people, I've met, especially up in Michigan, there's a lot of really nice, like, good people up here that have taken me under the wing a little bit, and I can send them articles like, hey, this is my idea, do you mind looking at it? Yeah, I'll look at it. And like John Osborne, Alan Crater, both of them have some books out. They've been published in major magazines, whether it's, Garden and Gun or Pointing Dog Journal and stuff like that. So I know they're accomplished, writers. They'll actually take the time to read my stuff and go, hey, I like this, I love this, maybe change that. So I do have a good support group, which helps out a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Edgar Castillo, he writes a lot of articles for a lot of different publications. A lot of times we can bounce ideas off of each other, so it is very helpful. But yeah, once you put something out there, man, especially you guys are similar too, whether it's like you said, your editing or even your podcast. I've been on podcasts before where I said something stupid and, my friends text me and go, dude, you're an idiot. Like
We
that's not what
definitely
that
have done
means.
that.
Yeah. And once
Oh.
you say it, it's out there, right? It's the same thing. Once you put that thing on paper and you send it, whether it's a website or publication, it's out there. And of course, especially nowadays, everyone has an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And so now I will say, I do not envy you as far as editing video. That is one thing. People are like, "You ever gonna do video?" I'm like, no, I don't have the patience, the time. Like my wife will sit there for a day or two and make reels, and I'm like, I'm gonna make mine in about 30 seconds. Like I don't have the time and patience to do that. Which is funny because I don't know if you guys follow what's his name, John Stewart or John Wright, the Art of Bird Dogs on Instagram.
No.
So y'all got to follow him. He does phenomenal photography. He's been published been on the cover for, Gundog Magazine, Virginia Sportsman, basically every major publication about hunting dogs. He's been on it. Super nice guy, but every now and then he'll laugh or I'll laugh because he'll go, "Hey man, I saw your race reel. That was like really well done." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, at least I want her to do reels for me, but she refuses. She's like, "No, that's your thing." But I don't envy you as far as video editing because that takes a whole lot of other skill set and patience that I just don't have. So,
well, I mean, it's both of the things. Just like hearing you talk, it's like it's a passion at the end of the day, and that's why you do it. And to me, I've always had like like my grandpa is an artist. My grandma is kind of an artist too. She painted and stuff. And like, I've always had that like side of my brain that like when I get bored and it's not duck season, like,
well, your sister too. You guys are both art in your own ways.
Yeah. No, she sings and stuff. True. And, it's just like, I might just get the urge to like try to paint a wood duck or whatever before I started editing videos. And, that's what it's done to me. It's like, it feeds that side of my brain that like, and I would imagine for you, it's the same thing. It's like, it's enjoyable to like create this thing that, you're passionate about, and that's just, yeah.
Before we get too far away from it, one thing I wanted to, kind of dive down for a minute, it's not necessarily waterfowl related, but life related. And that is, I think you touched on a great point about, you said, hey, I just, you didn't have to, you had to say, wait a minute, I can't wear my heart on my sleeve here. I need to take this feedback and, process it and not let my emotions get in the way, and I think that, and I'm just saying this, maybe this is a little bit pawpaw or something, but, I'm speaking to a lot of younger folks out there. That is one of probably the most important things that you will learn in life. And that is to keep yourself humbled enough to just say, like, if if somebody says something to you, even if it's straight up a lie and negative, don't let them dictate how you're going to feel. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can control how you're going to feel, and never make a decision whenever you have emotions involved. And it's so important. I applaud you for that. Is the point I'm making is, I think everybody goes through that at some time in their age, and sometimes it takes longer. Like God says, everybody's got a different sanctification process, so
right.
It's the same thing. And I just think it's a very important point of attaining success.
Oh no, I 100% agree. And I mean, kind of like you were saying, I definitely had to put my ego aside and just go, all right, well, that's, I need to use this to, and honestly, since then I've been way more intentional in the words that I use. I mean, I'm in sales, so I can be very talky and verbose in my writing as well. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I got to praise my wife because she's the one that talked me out of, just say, nah, screw it, I'm never writing again and blah, blah. Oh yeah, it was bad. I was like, I'm done.
Well, it sounds like she's a better salesperson than you are. She sold you.
Oh, she said she's not a salesperson, but
she just knows how to sell
good.
You.
That's right.
She knows her customer.
She knows my hot points. That's right. But I think even when you were talking, one thing that I was thinking about as far as the egos and stuff is, and I've kind of seen this going around on social media lately, which is good in my opinion. And I posted on, I think the other day, like, there's a lot, if someone shoots a small buck, people, give them hell for it. Or
Right.
if they only shot 2-3 ducks and they're proud of those and they post them, people give them hell. Like, oh, that's all you shot or whatever it is. And it's crazy to me. Like, instead of, celebrating someone's success because that's what they're happy for, that's what they're proud of, as long as it's legal, ethical, I'm good with it. I don't care. If it's a small buck, good for that kid or good for that guy.
Yeah.
If they only shot 3 mallards, hell yeah. I mean, hell, back in Virginia, man, if we shot 3 mallards, we were hunting public land in Virginia, we're happy. That was a great day. I mean, growing up with my dad, man, if we shot a duck, it was a great day for us. And
you ain't lying. That's how we were too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I said, especially growing up with my dad, my dad, he's got a lot of positives. One of the negatives is he is not a good networker. And so we did a lot of just walk-in duck hunting in Virginia. Again, I was probably 10, 12 years old carrying LL bean cork decoys on my back. And my dad did not believe in headlamps at the time. So we were, carrying those heavy ass police mag lights because that's what he thought was the strongest light.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was rough, but and I'm going to quote this quote that I posted the other day. It's from Gordon McQuarrie, and I don't know if y'all have ever read any of his books. There's a couple that are available on ebooks, but he was writing, maybe back in the 30s and 40s, I think. But he said, I pity the duck hunter who goes for ducks alone. I pity the duck hunter who has not filled his being with the dawn magic. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of these new guys coming in the duck hunting world, like you said, Tristan, as far as the grip and grins, and it's all about the bag limits, and it's all this and that. And they're missing the point, man. It should be about being out, like you said, being out with your buddies and talking and hanging out, watching the dogs work. Yeah, the dog might only picked up 3 ducks, but hell, you had a great day.
Yeah, dude.
I think there's a lot of that.
Well, and that, I mean, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but it's, our whole thing from day one, the inspiration I had for this was, the fact that I just kept seeing all these young people get out of the sport, and it hits me one day. I'm watching, I'm not going to say who I'm watching because it's on every single damn, and I'm not going to talk crap about any TV show, but there's several of them that got caught in this realm of every time you watched a damn deer hunt, they shot it on the last night of the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last night of the hunt. And I kept going, man, that's not true. There's no way that happens that often. And then the other thing was, you only get so many minutes, and I'm not talking bad about any waterfowl TV at all. I'm just saying you got so many minutes, there's so many commercials. They were just, if everybody watching, the millions of viewers watching this stuff is going, man, if I'm not getting that on TV right there, if I'm not shooting a Lee Latosky buck, not understanding, if you followed him, you would understand why he does, because he's worked his ass off, all right, to do what he does. But, there's a lot more of reality to hunting, and I just got sick of seeing young people get out of the sport because they weren't achieving what everybody's goods on social media, right?
Right. The highlight reels.
Yeah. It's all Brady Bunch.
That's right.
And that's what stemmed the passion of what we do is I was like, man, we got to connect these dots. And one of the biggest obstacles that I've seen turn in such an incredible way, I think, is the positivity of people. Like, we were in a dark place, I think, in the hunting industry, it feels like 5 years ago, where, man, I mean, the majority of stuff, like you said, if somebody posted, it could be a kid, I shot my first spike, and there's going to be a handful of jackasses that are going to say something. And, dude, there's so many companies on this power push of positivity, from brands to manufacturers to social media folks to just anybody. And it's spread, and I've loved to see that, man. It's just, to me, I can feel the energy just like the good's beating the bad. Like right now, the rebellion, Luke Skywalker's whooping people's asses right now, and Darth Vader is screwed. And I love where this is going, and we just got to keep pushing to get these young people in.
Well, I think to your point, I remember being a kid and watching, a lot of, and Tristan, this may be before your time. I don't know how old you are, but I remember watching a lot of duck hunting videos on VHS, and the way that the videos were shot was, and probably DVDs too, but I remember watching them, and man, they'd show the ducks and they'd hit them with a comeback call, and damn, them ducks just turned right in and came in and they shot them. And then I'd get on the field and, ducks would go by, tail feathers and wingtips, and I'd call at them. I'm like, hell, them things didn't turn. What the hell? Like that's not how it worked in the video. But yeah, so I mean, I get it. They were selling their calls and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a learning experience. Obviously, like you said, that's not always how it goes. And I think to your point, there's a lot of good out there now that shows, man, it's not. Yeah, we all want to go shoot birds. We all want to have fun. It's fun to shoot birds, but damn, just to have fun, the camaraderie of it all, and
let's
seeing
hunt
out the
together.
Crazy things that we see. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
100%.
That's how I grew up. I mean, in deer hunting world, the only thing I was exposed to hunting in the most pristine, I mean, arguably one of the number one areas in North America to hunt whitetail deer in Illinois. I'm there hunting public land. Sometimes in that state park, we would have 70, 80 bow hunters signed in on 6,000 acres, and I would say 2/3 of them were out of state. And guess what, dude? We all had this like number one, all of the locals knew where everybody hunted, and they respected it, and they were like, dude, this is Illinois. I could literally go put it. It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese, but now it's September and it's 85 degrees, and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? Deer stand behind the ranger station if it's legal, and I will shoot one. I mean, it's just, it's like going to Arkansas for your first time and seeing the quantity of waterfowl. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay, the density here, this is silly. All right? That's the way it is up there, and when it comes to deer hunting. And it was always like, I never felt any energy. It was like when we saw new hunters come in, we knew they were new, and we would I could see my stepdad and all the old boys. They would all be like, hey, there's some new guys. Let's go welcome them in. And they'd bring them over. Hey, we're having chili tonight. Come sit at the fire with us. Immediate bonding, right?
Right.
And it just disgusts. It was disgusting me. It took me a year to have the bravery to go to Arkansas and hunt public land because I was like, dude, what is going on with this sport?
Yeah, you see some wild videos over there. For sure.
Every one of you duck hunters in Arkansas that want to protect and play that bullshit game, let me tell you something. You don't know what it's like to live in Illinois doing that, but you can't imagine that when you take a different route like that of just friendship. And guess what? We're leaving today. Y'all going to be up here for another week? Yep. Let me tell you where you can go and shoot one. And I might be like, I can't come back up here this year, but I hope that son of a bitch shoots him. You know what I mean?
And it is so silly because it's like the way it's, structured with your spot and line or whatever. And then, the way it kind of is, it's like everybody should be that way anyway. Because it's like, okay, so you wanted to get here earlier and you're 4 spots ahead of me. I know I'm not going to go where you're going, so why not just talk about it? Right. Like, just be cool about it. Like, I'm not saying everybody knows what everybody's doing, but you know what I mean? Like, there can be that level of like respect, like, which there may be in some instances.
I don't mean to be this way, but I do. And, so Tristan, hold on to your pants. All right, but here's the thing. I can promise you this. If we went to, I'll just call out, say, Dave Donaldson, all right, and we went there on opening morning, and every truck that was in line was from the age of, and I don't mean to draw a line anywhere. I'm drawing a later age. I'm just saying put all a bunch of 50 to 70-year-old guys in those boats. I will take it to my grave right now that I would say the majority of those folks will all be having fun together. They'll all be talking, and they'll all be like, "Hey man, let's hunt together." And I think there was a gap there of that missing, and now it's starting to flow back through, and it's great to see the younger people doing it.
Well, and I hope so, and I think that's what a lot of those guys that are in that age group they feel like they can't go out and do that because of the way it is right now. You know.
Well, and my whole thing was, that's why I say it took a year to be brave enough. Is I was just like, no, dude. I'm going out there, and people can kiss my ass. I mean, I'm not going to. I don't mean that from a mean standpoint. I mean, like, I want to go out there and spread positivity. We did it here. You know, you watch our Teal Heaven video, hunt with 10 other guys we never knew. You know, we slept on the dike together. We got eaten by mosquitoes. We could have been killed by a gator.
Killed by a gator. That's dramatic.
It is dramatic. But we actually had a better chance of being killed by that slough that was full of mud.
Yeah.
But no, and it was, I mean, I don't know. It's just, the whole point is I do see a great shift going on right now, and I love it. And I just can't stop talking enough about it, because I feel like when we're in the media business and we're being listened to, and it might be just a 13-year-old young man or woman listening to this podcast, I don't want them to fear getting into the sport, you know.
Right. I mean,
they might not have an entryway.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever people say, you know, oh, well, there's too much competition. You know, and sure, in some areas, because I've been in areas in Virginia where, you know, there's 2 open draw hunts and there's 50 parties. Okay, cool. At the end of the day, we still need more hunters to help protect the sport.
Yep.
Because, I mean, whatever you want to paint it as, we are under attack, and it's dwindling every year, whether, you know, it's cut by what's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
So whatever, you know, we do need more people to advocate for us. And the way that for instance, I took a buddy, I've known him for years, and he is not a hunter at all. And I said, "Hey man, you want to go shoot some birds?" And he was like, "Well, I mean, I've never done that before." I said, "Well, I tell you what, I'll take you to Pheasant Preserve." And, you know, there's a lot of heat on Pheasant Preserve. So I'm like, it's a great way to introduce new people to hunting, because it's a controlled environment. There's no pressure. We know we're going to see birds. We know they're going to get shot. So I think it's a great way to get new people in the sport.
Sure.
And so I took him out there and had my camera, because I was going to shoot my dog and or take pictures of my dog. And man, he missed the first, I think, 3 pheasants, the traveler flushed. And I was like, oh hell, this shit's getting expensive. And I was like, let me get my gun just in case things free. So but I think the 4th or the 5th bird, traveler flushed right in front of him. He shot it, you know, traveler retrieved it, brought it to me. I gave it to him. I said, "What'd you think?" He was like, "Oh dude, that was badass, man. That was awesome." And I was like, "Cool." Well, for Christmas, he ended up getting an upland vest. He got some boots. He got a gun. Like, he's now invested into going hunting and getting, at least hopefully at some point, invested into some conservation efforts. Now, obviously that's upland related, but that's how you get people to advocate for us. And like you said, if you're just, you know, especially, you know, Arkansas, because we know how Arkansas is. I've hunted Bayou Meadow a couple of times. Like, if you're just dogging people and making a miserable experience, and if that's someone's entryway into the sport and that's their experience, yeah, they're not gonna, like, we do need to be like, yeah, you don't need to give your spots away, but you do need to be welcoming. And I've met some great people down in Arkansas where they're like, yeah, you know, come hunt with us. And I said, okay, you know, we joined them up. Or same thing in, you know, the Dakotas. I've done that before. Or I have been in some situations where it was less protective and it was more welcoming, and it was a great experience. You know, there's plenty of birds to go around, and if we get more people involved, guess what? In the long term, there's going to be more birds involved or more birds available, because we'll be able to protect our sport better.
Right. No, yeah. Well said, man. I totally agree. You know, I think one of the things I want to get into before I forget, because when we keep talking, I keep thinking of other things I want to talk about, and I'm like, I cannot forget to ask about this. So right. I'm just going to get it done, so then we can keep on this roll we're on. Fair enough. Anyway, you know, with the Boykin Spaniel thing, I've always been drawn to them because of the size. I think they're cool looking. And I was talking to you on Instagram about this, Chris. Like, if it was up to me, that's the dog I would buy right now. But I just they're cool, and you know, I think the feedback from a lot of like in the waterfowl community is a lot of like, oh, you know, just black labs, yellow labs, like that's the dog you got to have. And my question to you is just, you know, what makes a good, and maybe there's not, I'm just asking that because I don't know, you know, they might be better upland dogs, but you know, when it comes to Boykins, what, where do people go wrong with them not becoming a duck hunting dog? Is there, and I guess another question off of that is, do they have limits that maybe black lab or, you know, labs don't, they don't have the same limits as it could be temperature or just the drive or, you know, all that stuff. Yeah,
their individual fight, their you know, whatever.
All right, great questions. So yeah, I was raised with the breed. That's all I never knew growing up, and I've hunted with a lot of different breeds, especially being in Virginia. I've hunted with Chessies. I hunted with a lot of labs. The problem with Boykins is that they got too damn popular. And so just like what happened to the Cocker years ago is a lot of people were like, oh, this is a brown furry animal, you know, smaller size, super cute. Let's breed them because, yeah, A, we can make money, and B, they're cute. So do y'all know the history of the Boykin at all?
No, not really.
Okay, perfect. So long story short, this fella down in South Carolina found this random brown dog, and it kind of followed him to church, and he left church and the dog was still there. He took it home and he found out that it kind of liked to retrieve and fetch. And he said, oh, well, I know this guy up the road that likes to breed dogs, and kind of he's trying to breed his own animal, and his name is Mr. Whit Boykin. And so he gave this random brown dog to Mr. Whit Boykin. And so Boykin started breeding his own dog. And I'm going to fast forward a whole lot and leave a whole lot out of there.
Like what year was this? Approximately.
Around 1912, I think.
Okay, so I mean,
early 1900s.
In reality of time, it's still early.
It is a very early breed, yes. So the Boykin family bred them, and you know, the quote unquote slogan for the Boykin is it's the breed that doesn't rock the boat. It was bred to be a smaller retriever, especially for South Carolina, because they hunt a lot of swamps and stuff like that. So they could hunt out of the canoe and it wouldn't flip your boat, because, you know, getting a 80-pound lab in your canoe, you're going over. So that's what they were bred for originally. And then they docked the tails of the Boykins because a lot of folks started using them to actually turkey hunt with. And so basically what they would do is send the Boykin in, and there's oh god, I can't remember their name now. That's gonna kill me. I think last name starts with an M. There's a video on them, and they actually still do use their Boykin for turkey hunting in the fall. They will send their Boykin in to flush, I don't know, and I know nothing about turkey hunting, so forgive me, I guess the flock or the brood or whatever they call them, of turkeys. They'll call the Boykin back to them, have them sit and stay. That way they can call a tom back to them and shoot it. They dock the tail because they don't need that damn tail wagging and wagging all the leaves, and because Boykins are a spaniel, they're higher energy. That tail never stops moving. So that's one issue with the Boykin, is they're cute and cuddly. As far as what they know it's in the breed, obviously there's Cocker Spaniel.
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
American Water Spaniel. There is some Chessie in the breed, which is where you will get the stubbornness in that dog. My dad had one named Rebel, and it was fitting. He was a bigger Boykin. a little bit outside the breed standards. He was about 50 pounds, and he was stubborn as a Chessie. We had sent him to multiple trainers, and some trainers were like, that dog, no, they said someone's going to the hospital, either me or that dog, because he was just stubborn as hell. And but he was a goose machine. There is actually some pointer in the breed, so you will see some that will actually try to point when they're puppies.
Huh.
But if you ever read the Boykin Spaniels Society standards, because, and I'm not going to dog the AKC, but I'm going to kind of dog the AKC. How do I phrase this? They don't, in my opinion, the AKC does not have the best interests of the breed itself at heart. And so, hence the reason why you have these show cockers that good and well that dog ain't never going to hunt. And you have these show labs that good and well ain't never going to hunt, even though they're hunt dogs, right? So for a long time, the Boykin Spaniel Society was not doing dog shows at all because they wanted to protect the breed and keep it a hunting dog. A branch split off and started doing dog shows, and eventually the Boykin Spaniel Society kind of took them back. Because for a while, and I say we, because I'm part of the Boykin Spaniel Society, we wanted to protect the breed as much as we could and keep it a true hunting dog as much as possible. So as far as limitations, can they handle a straight up Michigan -10, water retrieve? No, that's not their bread and butter. Have I hunted Traveler in single digits? Absolutely. But I also he was out of the wind, because wind is a killer. It's not the cold water that, hurts a dog. It's the wind afterwards once they're, frozen. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've hunted him he's broken ice to go. I've had Boykins in the past. Yeah. Retrieved a swan, retrieved a goose. Can they do it? Yes. But if I'm looking for, these guys in, whether it's Michigan or Pennsylvania or New York, that are just smacking geese all day long, can they do it? Yeah, they can retrieve a goose. They can retrieve a swan. It's just going to be it's going to be slower than, a lab or a Chessie. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about a Boykin is they're small size. So again, when my dad got his first one, he originally wanted a lab, and my mom was like, no, I don't want the tail knocking everything. They had my older brother at the time, and they're like, we don't want a tail knocking everything and knocking the kid over. So my dad also went to the military college that I did down there. And so the state dog of South Carolina is the Boykin Spaniel. So that's how my dad ended up with his first. And so they don't obviously have a tail. So that's how he ended up with his first. We've had Boykins in the past that retrieve swans and geese, and Travelers retrieved plenty of geese. It's just slower. But they're a good versatile dog where I can take them, especially in like the South. They're great dove dogs. They handle the heat. Generally, I'm generally speaking, they handle the heat much better than a lab or a Chessie. They are close working flushers. So if you're hunting in the South, they can go quail hunt where you don't have to worry about them, busting your birds. Traveler has reacted very well to grouse hunting up here in the aspen thickets of Michigan. I've taken Traveler all over the U.S. and hunted with him. It's kind of cool to hunt with an American bred dog because it's one of the few. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I think it's like there's only 5 or 7 or something like that. I could be way off, but for some reason those numbers pop in my head. So it's cool to hunt with an American bred dog. But as far as limitations, super cold weather. If I'm hunting, 40-mile-an-hour wind with 10 degrees and I'm water hunting, I'm probably not taking my Boykin. That's what that's what a Tressie was bred for. I mean, my dad was stationed down in Jacksonville in Florida for years, and because he was Navy also, and he hunted his Boykin all the time and was picking up ringnecks left and right. So they can, not to say they can do it all, but they can do damn near it all.
Right. No, and I mean that's fair too. It's like there's a trade off for whatever you want, and it sounds like you said in the South that they have a little bit more. It makes sense for South Carolina, the environment, versus
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lab in the north.
it's definitely not bred to be, and I hate to say this, but a hardcore waterfowler up north.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to take this dog sea duck hunting in Maine? No. Like, can they do it? Yeah, if the conditions are right, but and I mean, again, the Boykin Spaniels Society has done a phenomenal job of trying to educate people and educate potential buyers as far as, so far as, we have in the Boykin Spaniels Society, we have a preferred breeders program. So what that means basically is you're not guaranteed to get a hunting dog, because there are some breeders in this program that just breed them for show or for pets. But what you are guaranteed is that this breeder is an ethical breeder and has done the recommended health tests, because there's so many people. I mean, whether it's labs, chessies, setters, GSPs, it doesn't matter. There's so many people that are just taking advantage of people that don't do the recommended health tests, whether it's, hips, eyes, EIC, doesn't matter. They just take advantage of people. So we built what's called the Boykin Spaniel Preferred Breeders Program. And that tells you, okay, if they're gold level, they've done these tests. And if they're silver level, they've done these tests. Just to educate people, because the Boykin exploded probably about 10 years ago and got super popular, which is cool, but also sucks, because now you got more, what's the word? Puppy mill breeders,
Right.
just trying to make a buck. And so, the only time I'm a dick on Facebook or Instagram is when I see
buttons.
Yeah, buttons. That hits my button, because I go, you just had a litter like 2-3 months ago. And so I go, okay, what are the health tests? And then they go PM me. I go, no. What are your health tests? Because I'm like, if you bred an ethical dog and you did the right health tests like you're supposed to, hell, you should be proud of the health tests. They got excellent hips.
There's got to be something to be said about, because it's been so recent, and it's like you said, American bred dog, that the folks that have the deepest roots in this are probably still touchable.
We're still alive. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's amazing, really, when you think about, my gosh, I mean, like, I've heard Ranella talk about, I have a podcast about have biologists on talking about dogs coming from wolves and all this, I mean, it can just go back, hundreds, if not, I don't know, thousands, I don't know how many years, a lot of years, but to say 1912, man, you could be like, well, the Smith family,
right?
Or the Boykin family. I mean, like, if somebody, like, if you're trying to buy a dog, can somebody like go buy like a Boykin original?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you can probably trace the bloodline back, though, I'm sure.
Yeah, they can trace it. So they made the breed standards in 1977. So that's when the Boykin Spaniel Society. So basically, they all got together and they said, "Hey, look, we got a bunch of these damn brown dogs running around. Like, we've got to make this. Like, we got to figure out what is a quote unquote Boykin Spaniel." And so, in 1977, they took basically a survey, and I don't remember how many dogs. And I was trying to look it up while y'all were talking. I don't remember. And the Boykin Spaniel Society, so boykinspaniel.org, has all this information. So basically they took a survey of all these dogs that they knew were Boykin Spaniels. And so they took a survey and kind of figured out, okay, this is what we want. So for instance, there's still some that will have like a white patch on the foot. Okay, that dog can't be registered because we're trying to get that out. Because to your point, Tony, that this is a very new breed. I mean, 1977 is when we made the standards.
Right. Well,
So
and there's a lot of people that probably really protect that,
100%. Oh, I'm one of them. And my wife makes fun of me because she's like, well, so before we met, her parents had a Boykin, and he didn't quite fit in the standard. And so her and her dad and myself, her dad's like, well, that Boykin Spaniels Society. And I'm like, dude, there's a reason. I mean, he gets it. He understands.
I love it.
So he gets it. But, there's a reason why we have to have the standard. That's to push along these bloodlines, because we don't want, no offense to anybody that's got a Boykin that does a quote unquote hesitated flush. We don't want a Boykin that points. We're trying to breed that out of them. We want and the breed standard says an aggressive flusher. We want a dog just like a cocker that runs right up in there and gets that thing to go up.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a couple of books out there. I mean, if I remember correctly, the first Boykin was named, I think Dumpy, if I remember correctly. So we all came from Dumpy. But it's a cool breed. I mean, Tristan, you and I talked about it. It is a great family dog, and I will put this, so long as it has a job. Just like any other dog that's field bred, whether it's a lab, I don't care what it is, lab, GSP, whatever. Because I got people that tell me, because I'm in the market for a pointing dog because I grouse hunt so much, and some people are like, oh, GSPs are so crazy. I'm like, well, I got a buddy that his GSP is laying on his couch all day long, but it's as long as they have a job.
Yeah.
And the problem is people look at the Boykin and they go, oh, this is a smaller breed, he'll be less energy. I'm like, ain't no way. Like I got two Boykins right now. Traver's my hunting buddy, but Cooper was before I kind of, started getting into riding and hunting all over the country. Cooper's 15 years old. When he was up until he was probably 7 to 10 years old, I could take him on a multi-mile run, and I would get home. I'd be tired because, my fat ass was running. And as soon as I got home, he would grab a tennis ball and throw it at me. I'm like, bro, there ain't no way.
Wow.
But, they're spaniels. So as long as they get, structure and training, they're fine. The problem is a lot of people are looking at these dogs and going, oh, they'll fit within my house. They're small. I'm like, that's not how this is. It's almost like the people that get dachshunds and complain that they dig holes. And I'm like, that's what they were bred to do, is to dig for moles. Why are you complaining about this dog digging for holes? That's what they were bred to do. They're mole and weasel dogs. Like that's so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I try. My goal, anytime anybody ever is interested in a Boykin and contacts me, is to try to educate them, but also figure out, do you just want a Boykin, or is a Boykin right for you? Because that's two different questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, that totally makes sense, because I think, I don't know. I got like an uphill battle for getting a dog, like, to begin with, because one, my wife's always been, cats. That's always been her thing. And also she's allergic to a lot of dogs, which I would imagine, I mean, you probably know this, but, I don't, cause she hasn't been around a Boykin, but there's some dogs that just, for whatever reason, it doesn't even have to be a hypoallergenic dog. Some dogs just really like get her going, and some dogs that don't affect her at all. But so there's that aspect of it. And then, her concern, she's like, well, if you're gone, I'm going to have to take care of it. And I'm like, yeah, but the whole point is I want to get a dog that I can take to go do things.
I want to take this dog with me. Yeah.
Right. So we're having this whole debate, but honestly, like, we're at the point right now where it's, it just, like, financially wouldn't be the smartest thing to do until we are in a place where it's like, if a vet bill comes up or something like that, it's like you're not stressing about it,
Well, I will tell you, again, and that comes back to, the breeding. Unfortunately, I've run into a couple of guys where they messaged me about a Boykin. I said, hey, this is what you're looking at. Because a well-bred Boykin is always going to be more expensive than a well-bred lab. Just because there's so many more well-bred labs than Boykins. It's just market, right?
Right.
So unfortunately, I have educated people and I go, hey, this is what you're looking for, a well-bred Boykin. And they go the cheaper route. And then it's, the old pay what you get for. And then,
Right,
unfortunately, I've
right.
run into where that Boykin does have hip issues, or there's a couple of things that the Boykin Spaniels Society tests for, and they, a well-bred Boykin breeder will say, hey, this is what the hips tested for and all that stuff. And unfortunately, I feel like some people get taken advantage of. So, a lab, at least for now, will always be cheaper than a Boykin. So if you're looking at cost, go lab all day long, because there's so many more lab breeders, and because of that, there are so many more well-bred lab breeders available. I mean, you can, it's just the way the market works. With that being said, if someone is looking for a well-bred Boykin, go to the Boykin Spaniels Society and start. I have a article that just got published in Boykin Spaniels Society about and I put it on my website as far as like, okay, what are some things to ask a breeder? Because I got so pissed off, because I'm the admin for Boykin Spaniel Lovers, which runs the gamut of folks that buy Boykins not even knowing that they've ever in their life hunted ducks in the history of the breed. So I became the admin of that to try to hope, educate these folks and get them more involved with the Boykin Spaniels Society. And I wrote that article trying to educate people as far as, hey, these are the tests that you should be asking the breeder as far as, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? But I think a lot of times it comes down to, there are some people that are like, yeah, I want a $500 Boykin. I'm like, okay, well, good luck. I mean, you're going to pay $10,000 at the end of the day for that $500 Boykin. That kind of, like, the initial cost of a puppy is the cheapest expense you will ever make in the history of that dog. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah.
It does. A quick question I just had about, and this is, I just, my lack of knowledge as far as like when it comes to shopping for a dog, because I'm going to be shopping for a dog soon. If you, because I can tend to be psychotic about things at times, can you like say, I want to have that puppy DNA tested, or do people that are really good breeders provide some kind of proof of DNA testing or something?
Yeah, 100%. So
Okay.
the breeders that do, man, I'm trying to look up, I'm talking to you. The breeders that do like gold level, and I don't quote me off this, but they do, you will get a phenomenal bred dog if you went from like a gold level breeder. The Boykin Spaniels Society has done an amazing job of keeping track of bloodlines, pedigrees, not only just hunt tests, but also health tests and stuff like that. So again, there's no guarantee, because things happen.
Right, but you can do that with just about any bloodline, I would imagine, right?
Oh, 100%. And they've tracked all that.
Okay.
And I mean, if you said, hey, Chris, man, I want a hardcore upland hunting machine, because we're going to do more quail hunting in the panhandle of Florida.
Yeah.
I said, okay, cool. Go this guy, because he's won. So the Boykin Spaniels Society has 2 national championships. We have the Retriever National Championship, which is more waterfowl related. And then we have the Upland National Championship, which is obviously upland related. Not to say either dog can't do both, but now you can go, hey, man, if I want a hardcore upland dog, like that's it, I'm going to go that route. If I want a hardcore waterfowl machine, I'm going to go that route. Now, if you came to me and you said, hey, I want one that does both, I'm going to direct you a certain way. Like, for instance, Traveler, and I told this on a different podcast, I am terrible on hunt tests. I stopped doing hunt tests with Traveler probably, probably 5 years ago, because I hate them. My dad did them as I grew up, and I guess he enjoyed them. I hate them because I get so damn nervous online. I'm like, that ain't my thing, dude. Like, don't grade me, don't grade my dog. I hate it. But yeah, no, there's two different national championships for Boykin Spaniels Society. So if you wanted like just a straight up, especially down south, I mean, where y'all are, whether it's Georgia or Florida, with all those upland preserves, because a lot of guys use cockers. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, cockers are great. I found under a number of them, they're cool. But there is a Boykin Spaniel Upland National, and then there's a Boykin Spaniel Retriever National. So it's two different things.
I gotcha.
Gotcha. Cool.
I think it'd be a good point, Chris, to get into what we got here for these listener questions, man.
Yeah. And I haven't seen this stuff, and I don't ever want you to tell me what they are. Because I like the surprise of it. Because what was one from last week?
Why was Tony goofy?
Yeah, why was Tony goofy? And I was like, dude, I love it that somebody's just trying to connect with my goofiness.
By the way,
Tony's goofy because he was Navy. So that makes sense.
That's right. Well, you know what Kade told me the other day? I said, I'm going out and do this deer hunting again and all this stuff. And Kade goes, "You're just not going to stop." He goes, "You're not going to stop." He goes, I promise you, Tony Vogel, when you die, he goes, it's going to be like when you're going, like, it's just going to be drop dead. In the middle of, he goes, you run around like a damn 25-year-old and you're 52 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm so afraid to miss. I got so much FOMO. It's crazy. I do.
Right.
I got FOMO. Right. If I have a disease, it's FOMO disease.
I learned that early on. I remember one time I stayed at my cousin's house and my dad was like, "You want to go duck hunt?" That was probably, I think I was in elementary school. I said, "No, I'll stay here and play Super Nintendo." And then I remember the next morning waking up. And,
I love Super Nintendo stories like that.
It was Super Nintendo, yeah. And I remember my aunt the next morning. I said, "Well, how'd Dad do?" And she was like, "Oh, he killed a bunch of black tucks and mallards." I was like, "Son of a bitch." Damn, I should have gone.
Oh, yeah. I got one like that, too, where he was like, "Well, you want to go deer hunting in the morning?" I was probably 13 or something. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and sits my stand.
I said, "I'm going to sit your stand just to show you what's going to happen this morning."
And went and shot a doe out of the stand.
Dude, it was that doe dressed 168 pounds.
Wow.
Dressed. Dude, a big old flathead. No, I think it's funny, just to talk on this real quick, and I don't mean to steer us off here, but, I remember my stepdad that got me in hunting, and it was a serious thing that, and we've talked about this before, Tristan, and you've said it several times, it's like, if you're trying to get into the sport, be respectful of the person that is leading you into the sport, respectful of their time, be there early, try to help out as much as you can, do all these things. Some people don't know that you need to do these things because they came from a culture that they're not used to that, okay? Keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. If you got somebody just standing around not helping and they're a new person, say, "Do you know that
they might not know?"
Yeah. Do you know that you strip the sheets when you stay at somebody's house, or help out with the dishes or, whatever it is, right? And I forgot where I was going with this. I just totally lost track of my thought.
I had said something about...
No, but here's the thing, is that if you're trying to help somebody into a sport, just remember that they might not know everything they need to do. And sometimes you just kind of direct them.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's no different than, whether it's hunting in general, whether it's duck hunting, upland hunting, or, for me personally, like I said, buying a Boykin Spaniel, people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And so the best you can do is try to educate as much as possible. And then if you educate and then they choose not to, okay, that's a different story. But yeah, just like y'all's podcast, like you said, we're trying to educate people, not about the grip and grin, but the story of a hunt and, what goes into it and the camaraderie and the dog work and all that stuff. And so that's what it's about. It's not about, we all want to shoot ducks, but hell, we had fun just hanging out and shooting the shit. Or so and so fell in the water and his waders were overflowed. Okay, cool. That was a good story. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and here's where I totally I'm circling back now. So what made me think of what you were saying was, my stepdad, I remember one time, Tristan, he said to me, it was in Illinois back in the day, and this is in the 80s, you could shoot one deer. And you got one tag. And the season ended on December 31st. And it started on October 1st. And so, anyway, I'm like, it's the last day of the season. I'm getting to stand freaking 3 hours before first light, dude. I'm not screwing around. I mean, like as a young man, I was just, how it is when we were all first in the sport. I just wanted to kill, right? And we're sitting there in the house the night before, and he says to me, he goes, Tony, I want you to go sit this stand over here. We call it the Middle House pasture stand. He goes, don't go in there until 9:30 in the morning. And I was, 15, 16, I don't remember what I was. And I looked at him and I said, are you serious? And he goes, well, you know what? Screw it then. Don't go. And he just flips his shit. It flipped his shit. My mom's like, Jerry, settle down. He's like, he don't want to listen to me. He goes, I won't say what he said. And
right.
And so I was like, dude, why did he just get so pissed off? Number one, it was intimidating, but it also put pressure on me to listen to him. And he just didn't know how to. He took a little rougher approach to the training, But here's the thing: I went out there, got in the stand at 9:30, and I didn't know he had scouted and knew that this would be a late travel corridor, and sure enough, I shot a deer, and
right.
I just remember thinking to myself, well, you're kind of stupid. You know what I mean? So,
well, in my industry, I've realized there is a big difference between, and again, Tony, you're in the Navy, so you understand.
Yeah.
When people told you to do something, because I came from the Army, you just did it.
Absolutely.
It didn't matter.
No, you don't get a choice of saying, maybe, I don't feel like it. No.
Right. So, think about, to your point earlier, the different age difference. I think earlier you used people that were 50, 70 years old, right?
Yeah.
Most of those guys fought in served in some sort of military.
Yeah.
They served in the military. Whether they're 50 or 70 years old, they probably were in the military at some point. Whether it's Korea, World War II, is what it is. They are used to, hey, Tony, you go to point A, and you're like, okay, cool, I'll go to point A, right?
Yep.
In today's society, they're not used to that.
No.
So, like, for me, it's like,
it's a very liberal military, or it was. I think it's changed.
Well, I mean, for even me, I went to military college and I was in the Army, and so, for instance, I had to, and even now in civilian life, I have to explain why. So once I say, hey, Tony, I need you to go to this stand at 9:30 because I've seen a bunch of bucks walking this way and doing all that. You go, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm going there. I'll be there at 8:30.
But that's the difference. And so same point of, when I talk to new duck hunters, I go, hey, look, this is why you want to set your decoys up this way. They go, oh, that makes sense. And whether they have success or not, but also I'll say, hey, you want to set your decoys up this way. But honestly, dude, they're not all going to react to your call. I promise you. It's not going to be like I'm just going to use quote unquote company call.
Yeah.
They're not going to react. It's okay. Just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Just don't worry about, posting your grip and grins and your 10-man limit on Facebook, because it ain't going to happen.
Right.
I mean, occasionally it will.
Be more focused on shenanigans at duck camp.
Because honestly, think about how many duck hunts y'all been on. I know how many duck hunts I've been on my whole entire life. The times I've limited versus the times that, like you said, shenanigans, or someone fell in the boat, or someone fell in oh my God.
That's the shit you remember, dude. I remember, like right now, just one little simple thing of Tristan trying to get in the boat one time in the swamp, and that was funny.
How old is Tristan?
Tristan is 28.
Yep.
Yeah.
No. How old was he when this happened?
Oh, that was like 24.
Yeah, he was like 24. But
Even better, man.
But
That's a story.
That's
a story.
We were hunting in a reservoir that was probably, it was one of those where you had about, I would say on me, I'm 5'9". On my waders, I had about 3 to 4 inches of clearance before the water went over my waders.
and really, we just had to, he just had to roll into the canoe.
Actually, no. What had happened?
Yes.
This is actually a funny story. Real quick. What had happened is I went to go retrieve a duck. We didn't have a dog or anything, and it's like out there. It's kind of like the gator threat wasn't that bad, but like you could definitely lose.
It was there.
Yeah, you could lose a duck to a gator, and we're like, all right, we need to go pick up ducks. So I went out there, and freaking water got over my waders and stuff, and I got to the point where I'm sitting there duck hunting with just water in my waders, and I had to pee so bad too. I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm peeing." And
dude, you need to do a reel on that, just like a picture of an animal taking a pee, like when a cat squints his eyes. It'd just be like when you have to go in your waders.
I'm like, it's already water in there anyway. It's like it's freaking.
It's there.
Yeah, I'm in the Florida swamp anyway. But yeah, so getting in the boat, that's what caused the problem. Is that there's water literally at least up to my hips in my waders. So getting in the boat. He's
carrying another 80 pounds.
Yeah, getting in the boat was like a chore, dude.
No, but you're right, dude. It's all those.
We've all been there, dude.
It's all those things.
That's the stories that I think people want to hear. Is that stuff happens to everyone. I mean, it's unique to you, but it's also applicable to everybody that has duck hunt, like hardcore duck hunt. We've all been there. We've all got water over our waders. We're like, oh shit.
We're all losing money doing this. I mean, Kade, our buddy that owns Delta Thunder Outfitters, what I love is that, now that we've known him for so many years, he's got all these continued groups that just book it no matter what. They're coming, and what I love about these folks that we've gotten to know, and I don't mean to side with Alabamians, but there's a lot of folks from Alabama that just don't give a damn. They're just like, dude, we're just coming, and we don't care if we shoot ducks or not. We're going to have a good time,
That's the way to have it.
And those folks are some of the funnest people to be around.
Oh.
But they get it, right? They get it. They get that, hey, tonight might be the memory of this trip might be Tristan singing karaoke to Morgan Wallen. I don't know. You know what I mean? So anyway, but Tristan, I know you want to get into the listener questions.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I'll do the more boring one because you kind of already. Not that this is boring. What I mean by this is that Chris, you already answered this because we asked you this at the beginning. But somebody asked, what do you guys do for work in your personal life? The other one, will make more sense. So I'll do that one last. But so this is, what do y'all do for work in your personal life? And I got to pull up Instagram real quick so I can get this fellow's name.
You want me to go ahead and answer?
Oh, you can go ahead, man. Yeah, because I know you were talking about it a little bit earlier, but if you want to go into more depth.
So for me, I'm a business development director, so I answer incoming leads for a dealership, but then also get involved in the marketing. I'm not the marketing director by all means, but I get involved in it. So which helps me a little bit in the hunting traveler because I'm like, oh, that works. Let's do that over here.
Yeah.
I get a little bit of insight.
That's my territory.
That's for me. Yeah. Like, oh, I'll use that. I'll try that one. Yeah.
That's right.
So it's that question came from Jeremiah, and I was actually talking with him a little bit. He's in like the Brunswick area of Georgia.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, you can go ahead, Dad.
So what I do is I've got a deep background in the commercial cleaning industry. So I've been a managing partner and a general manager for several years, and now I work for another large company here in the United States as a regional director. And basically, I'm setting up people with commercial cleaning contracts within like maybe you go to a college and they're looking to have their college campus cleaned or something like that. So work for a very well-respected company here in the United States.
Yep, and mine's nothing like too exciting. My wife jokes and jokes that I sell Saran wrap, but no, no, it's basically I'm a sales rep for a packaging company selling stretch film.
That's a unique.
For packaging. There's a unique factor to it for sure. And, but basically it's over technically Georgia and Alabama and just basically making sure that pallets are contained. So when you get your pallet of, whatever to the grocery store, that it's not tipped over and, that people at the grocery store can buy whatever they need to buy. Well, nothing super glorious.
I do want to add this, that there has been experience in my life where waterfowl has tied into my position.
Yeah.
And one time I had a customer that said, hey, we've got a goose problem. And I said, well,
talk to the right guy.
Yeah. And you got to know folks from South Florida. I mean, not South Florida, but in Florida, specifically Northeast Florida. There's some good old folks there and a lot of country folk. A lot of people don't realize that market is a real, we call it big town, small town. Jacksonville is. And anyway, I said, well, I can take care of that problem. I said, what's your problem? She goes, well, they're pooping all over the sidewalk. And this is a big company in Jacksonville's headquarters there. And I said, all right. Well, listen, we have a special cleaning division that comes out and removes goose poop. And so anyway, but no, no, it is interesting, and that was a good question. I think it's interesting to we see people what they do on social media all the time, but we don't really know. Hey, how's that? A lot of times they do something that doesn't even. All of us want to have a job in the outdoor industry, but that's not reality.
Tony, I think you bring up a good point because I've talked to people before where. I just mentioned a bird hunt or a duck hunt. It doesn't matter, whichever. Because, bird hunt is different than duck hunting, quote unquote, up here, especially in the upland world for whatever reason. But I mentioned I hunt. And they go, oh, what do you hunt? I go, I hunt upland, I hunt duck. They go, oh, wow, I got this preserve or I got this or, like you said earlier, oh, hell, I got this golf course that's an issue with a lot of geese. And I go, oh, well, I got a perfect solution for that, which is ethical, sustainable. Because especially for a lot of y'all listeners, a lot of golf courses will revert to poisoning the geese, which obviously poisons everything else that gets in there. But also, it's just
inhumane.
Just killing the it's inhumane. It's just killing the geese.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas. I got a buddy in West Virginia that's made friends with some golf course. He goes, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go set up. We're gonna have decoys. We're gonna ethically shoot these geese. We're gonna kill them within range. If there is a cripple, we're gonna go kill it really quick. Like he explains the whole process, and the golf course is like, yeah, why? And wait, how much do I have to pay you? He goes, nothing. And he goes, oh, yeah, we'll do that in a heartbeat. So I think there's a conversation that can be had with a lot of these golf courses, especially like the East and the Southeast, where, like y'all know, I'm sure these golf courses just overrun with Canada geese, just, for lack of a better term, just shitting all over the golf courses, ruining them and getting in the way of their golfers. They can hire, or not maybe hire is a different term, but coordinate with a hunter that will ethically dispose of these Canada geese, and the hunter will actually, take these Canada geese and whether turn it into jerky or what do they want to do, pastrami or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely, like you said, there's a good way to do this if we can coordinate and educate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Another question that we had come in is, let's see here. It is from Chris in Oklahoma, and it's what's one duck you want to get more than others? And for me, it would be a widgeon that is like all freaking studded out. I've been over the last few years, I've seen several of them killed, and I've probably, it's one of those deals where everyone shoots, you know, and who knows if you shot it or not, but I've probably at least shot one. But none of them have been like clearly I shot it and then it's like a stud on top of that. Like, so it's just one of those things. It's probably going to be one of those where I take a trip out west or something, and then I finally get that like badass one to mount on a specific trip, just kind of targeting that species. But yeah, that's me. What about you guys?
I want a 3-legged mallard.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well, I mean, you gotta have goals, right? I mean, you gotta have goals.
There's goals.
No. Oh, man. I mean, for me, I just feel like there's such a handful, but if I'm just like what I desire from a beauty standpoint or whatever, I don't know, man. I think that it'd be tough. There's something attracting me to eiders, dude.
Yeah.
There's something about the fierceness.
The king eider?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go up there and sacrifice my life for one.
Oh, okay.
No. I really,
fair.
dude,
That's fair.
I watch these guys in these layouts. And I'm like, are they? And I'm like, I would do that. You know, when I'm looking at it. So, I mean, it's hard for me to say but from just uniqueness, I think that like a king eider on like a freeze your ass off hunt, that they're just the contrast of colors and just the uniqueness. And this is why I'm recently this way. I happen to be flipping through YouTube Shorts, and it's David Attenborough, and everybody knows the voice, right?
Yeah, be careful with him.
Yeah. But dude, he's like the king eider, you know, only lives in this. They're the only waterfowl species that lives in this area where these turbulent waters, freezing temperatures, are formed. And they're the only duck that's strong enough to swim all the way to the bottom to get the clams. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, look at that thing. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like there's got to be like such a low percentage of people outside the like East Coast. 'Cause I know like our buddy over there, Pit Boss, they smoke some, is it eiders that they shoot out there?
They shoot the scouters.
Scouters.
Yeah,
Scouters are
shoot
beautiful.
They shoot a lot of
Scoters.
surf scouters, and I think they shoot some commons.
Yes.
It's rare to shoot a white wing scoter.
But I put it out there with the same, you know what I mean? It's just a unique diver duck, I guess, or sea duck, or I don't know.
I can go with that. Yeah,
that's one that I would love to be able to take.
that's fair.
What about you?
I'll do you one more, Tony. I'll hit you. So the one duck. So my dad had oh God, I don't remember what it was published. I remember it had a blue and white cover jacket. And said something about North American waterfowl or something. I don't remember the book, but I remember stealing that out of his library all the time and just trying to look at it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the one duck that always took out for me was a harlequin. That's like my duck. And I was supposed to go to Alaska, a couple years ago, and I just could not make it. Unfortunately, my travel schedule just didn't work, and a bunch of my buddies, of course, made it out there. Now I have even more buddies that made it out there and killed their harlequin, and that's my duck. Man. So, yeah, harlequin and cinnamon teal are my two ducks that I'm like, as far as North American waterfowl, those are my two. And so harlequin, it's either Alaska, maybe Washington. I think you can still hunt them and they get some. Cinnamon teal obviously is like, more Utah. I haven't made it out there yet to hunt them. But yeah, those are my unicorns, if you will, where I'm like, that would be my trophy duck hunt, harlequin or cinnamon teal.
I'm going to change my answer. I'm sorry. Something just hit me. And if I get to pick any duck, not just is it North America?
Yeah.
Well, I was going North America, but go on. Yeah.
I'm saying North America because, yeah.
Did they say that?
No, they didn't. They didn't specify. Okay. But we're talking about 99.9% of the duck.
No. We're talking about. I'm going to go back to Ramsey on this one. the rosy-billed pokard.
Yeah, he
Pocket.
kills some crazy things.
Dude,
You can't
that
go random,
duck
He
is
kills some
so
crazy ducks.
freaking cool. Honestly, if I'm gonna pick one duck, that's the duck. That thing is such a unique, cool looking duck. It's look it up. It's an Argentina duck.
You know, one thing I do love. I mean, I love y'all's podcast, but one thing additionally to it is y'all's conversations with Ramsey, because he's just, dude, he's such a wealth of information and knowledge and just stories,
bro.
And and he's so accessible, because I've messaged him where I'm like, oh shit, like he
he's so interactive.
Podcast, but I'm like, yeah, he reacts and he responds. I'm like, oh my god, like this is Ramsey Russell, like. So it's crazy, but yeah, the his website and the fact that, like you said, he goes and shoots these himself, so it's accessible, so you can get there, you can do it, you'll be all right.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think he kills some cool birds, but still, for me, it's Harlequin and cinnamon teal. That's my first two, and then we'll go from there.
Right on.
Solid answers. All valid.
All right. So, before we close it out, give us what's your most memorable hunt?
Ooh, Lee.
First thing comes to mind.
Two. Well, I got two that pop. Number one would be, I kind of talked about it earlier. That slew where Traveler, had. I mean, it was his first like real, I think, duck hunting trip, and he was steady to shot, steady to the fall. He did phenomenal. He was just good. Every time burr would drop, I'd say Traveler. He'd go, and he came back. I'd say, all right, good boy. I'd take the duck. I'd say, all right, Traveler. And he'd go get another one. And then even with ducks dropping on top of him, I mean, because I'm a big sticker on like discipline, because sometimes you hunt with people that you don't know, and you don't want the dog jumping out of the blind, and then God forbid something happened, right? So, he did a phenomenal job. And then the second most memorable will probably be the first time my dad probably shot a canvasback with us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because, dude, he had hunted I was probably in my 20s, so he'd hunted for 30, 40 years before he killed his first can.
Wow.
And no, don't get me wrong, my dad was spoiled. And Tony, don't listen to this, but my dad was the XO of a Navy ship. So when they docked in Canvas or Scotland and in England, certain ambassadors would show up and go, oh, I understand you guys are waterfowlers, and so they would take them out some pristine duck shooting.
Wow.
And I remember my dad would tell me, he'd be like, well, you know what a ghillie is? And I go, what? He's like, ghillie's where you load my shotgun and you hand it back to me so I can shoot. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. Ain't no way that's gonna happen. And yeah, he had some cool duck hunting experience, but the first time he killed a canvasback, I was there for, which is really cool. So yeah, probably for that duck hunt with Traveler, my dad's first can, and then that might be those two probably top of the list.
Right
just because it was the memory involved in it, where the scenario, the situation, all that stuff. So it wasn't do you kill a limit? Absolutely not. But it was just the memory involved in the whole experience was cool.
Sure.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
Well, Chris, man, thank you so much for your time. We had a blast, especially you're really knowledgeable on, the stuff about Boykins and hearing your perspective about riding and, of course, talking hunting. That's always a great time. And we'll definitely have to do it again some point down the line. I appreciate it.
No, Chris, you're the type of person that, seriously, dude, and we've met so many, I'm not taking anything away from anybody, that we could immediately sit in a blind and be like, dude, I swear I've known that guy for several years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we really appreciate you. And thank you so much.
My wife gives me a hard time. She's like, who are you talking to? I go, I'm talking to Devin.
What was that State Farm commercial? I'm talking to
Jake. From State Farm. Yeah.
What? Give me the phone. Who is this?
Yeah.
Is this Jake for State Farm?
Tony and Tristan from One Hell of a Life Outdoor podcast.
Like, yes, ma'am.
Who is that?
This is Tony.
And that's the thing is, I'm like, they're like-minded folk. Like, I'll talk to anybody all day long, especially about birds and bird hunting, especially with the dog. I'm like, I don't care who it is. I'll talk all day long. So, I appreciate what y'all do with the podcast, because I think, like y'all said earlier, it's promoting a positive message, which is, hey, look, this is a welcoming community.
Yeah.
It's not all about going to shoot, a 6-man limited duck. Because don't get me wrong, it's all fun, but that's not what it's about.
Think about if it was possible, just an ending here, you guys. If one day you could pull up to, just to give people a visual, let's say your favorite boat ramp in Arkansas, right? Your favorite public boat ramp that's overpacked. That one day we could all pull up there, that we've got a fire pit going on. We've got everybody sharing meals. We got tables set up, and everybody is just having community together, dude. I feel like we can get there if everybody just keeps on going where we're going.
No, I agree.
So.
I think if you promote a positive message and that it's not about bag limits and shooting a shit ton of ducks, it's just about and that's the thing too. When I post pictures of my dogs, I try to attach a quote from an old book that I appreciate, because I'm like, that's the history of our sport. Like, these guys wrote these stories,
Right.
Sometimes 100 years ago, and they still are applicable to today. Like, let's go read these things, because they're still talking about the same damn things 100 years ago that we're talking about now.
Right on, brother.
Appreciate the sport,
Well, thank you for your time. Where can everybody follow you and follow your journey?
So there's the Hunting Traveler on Instagram. It's spelled with Traveler, spelled with 2 L's, because I spell it the Southern way, and I think I can say this without being politically incorrect on y'all's podcast. Traveler is 2 L's because of Robert E. Lee's favorite war horse in the Civil War. Yeah. Well, again, my dad was a big history nerd, and that passed on to me. And
very cool.
So yeah, Travelers, or Robert E. Lee spelt Traveler with 2 L's because that was the old English spelling, which is what he felt was proper. So so the Hunting Traveler, one word, Instagram, Facebook, and then thehuntingtraveler.com is where I try to post a lot of my stories that have either been published or some of my blogs. And again, I try to, I'm not a hunting expert. I'm not going to go tell you how to kill a bunch of ducks, but I can tell you how to have a good time. And if you're interested in the Boykin Spaniel, I'm more than welcome to, give you some insight. I will tell you how to probably not train a dog, because I'm not a dog trainer by all means. But I can tell you how to detrain one and then point you in the right direction.
Awesome stuff.
All righty, man. Well, I appreciate it. And we'll do it again at some point.
Yep. And stay tuned.
Yeah, likewise, man.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.